Hey, is the audio good?
Yeah, is that a Bionicle Discord avatar?
Maybe. No.
Based. All right, what's up?
Well, I wanted to change your mind about Jesus Christ, my my heart's kind of racing fast, honestly. Oh boy, sorry. But essentially, so you've heard of the uncanny valley, correct?
I have.
So this is all conjecture right now, unfortunately. But the way I think this works is that you have biological males, 100% biological males. Every single scientific category that we have constructed is going towards them, and then you have biological females on the other side. Okay. Now, trans people exist in that weird little middle space. Okay, so the uncanny valley theory. Obviously, if something is more cartoonish or less cartoonish, then you will obviously have a different reaction. But if something essentially blurs the line, it's my little hypothesis that some parts of a transgender person, obviously you're pansexual, so you don't exactly have the same response as someone, because obviously the female parts and the male parts both are attractive to you, honestly. So I'm sorry if I can't really explain this too well, but just pretend like you're only attracted to the female parts. Oh, I'm straight anyway, so it's my belief that transgender people, so let's just say you have a typical transgender person, okay? Or transgender male to female, okay? So that person probably transitioned or started transitioning after they finished puberty, so they have an adult skeleton of an adult male. Now, the human brain is hardwired to determine three things, okay? Age, sex, and gender. Those are the first things, sorry, not gender, sex, okay? Sorry. Age, sex, race, sorry. I'm just a little bit flustered here, sorry about that. But
Yeah,
essentially,
it's okay if you want to take a breath. It's not a race. I'm not gonna jump over you.
I'm trying to beat Ben Shapiro as the fastest talker on YouTube, But no, so those first three things. So the whole idea is that whenever a straight person, such as myself, or super straight, I guess we'll call it for this debate, they see a trans person, essentially, there are two signals. One is the fact that they vaguely look feminine, and the other one is saying that there are still remnants of the masculine part. Now, as part of this thing, I just want to conjecture, this is about sexuality, not dating. Obviously, it's definitely possible for you to date a transgender person, okay? Heck, you could date a full-on male if you didn't know they were, like a full cisgender male. People have been catfish since the beginning of time, But what I want to postulate is that there's this weird discongruity between what you actually, experience, what your brain is telling you and what the other person is telling you, okay? So you obviously know that this person is not 100% biologically female. And unfortunately, I assume you would call that transphobia. So yeah, I guess in a weird way, it would be transphobic not to do that. But in also a way, I don't think there's exactly a way to change it without going full-on conversion therapy, Anyways, I'll give a break for a sec. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, could you hear me or?
No, I hear you just fine. I'm just waiting for you to lay out your premises, and then I'll, pick at them.
Well, that's kind of most of the premises right now.
Okay. So let's go a couple of paces back, if that's at all possible.
All right, sure.
So, what is a sexuality to you?
Well, basically, it's, what biological characteristics a person is attracted to. Now, I don't want to get into TOS, but obviously, the hot dog rising up is a current indication of stuff like that, where somebody is sexually attracted. Obviously, sexual attraction is a well-defined concept in a lot of things, so,
Well, you can say dick and vagina on Twitch, that's fine. But,
okay, sorry.
So, our understanding of sexual attraction has changed massively over time. You do not have to look particularly hard to find instances throughout history where
situational homosexuality, like for example among pirates and other stuff like that, yeah.
Or beyond that, where people who are entirely straight nonetheless feel attracted to men. Our understanding of sexuality today is very different from our understanding, say, back in Grecian or Roman times. Their understanding of sexuality had more to do with who was on top than who was straight or gay. And likewise today, if you look around for like a third of a second, you'll find that straight men who would never date a guy or have sex with a guy, are just absolutely enamored with femboys, just up into the grave. And
Vaush,
likewise,
I want to tell you, there are a lot of people who are very sarcastic about that, okay?
And there are a lot of people who aren't. And the narrative of like a straight guy being very much into a feminine boy suggests to me that historically, sexuality doesn't have so much to do with the biological components of what you're attracted to as it does with the social and cultural and behavioral elements
Okay,
you find
Vaush,
yourself
I just
most
want to put
attracted
that.
to.
So how exactly do you think that animals develop sexuality if they didn't have gender?
I have no interest in what animals do or don't do.
Oh,
We
because
have
we
our
evolved from
own
we are
gender
animals. We
constructs.
evolved from animals. You don't think sexuality is related to animal sexuality?
We have social constructs. We have completely transcended the utterly instinct-driven intercommunal behavior of animals. It's more
Okay,
complicated for us. I mean, animals will like fuck whoever. Like like male animals will fuck other male animals sometimes because they're dumb and they don't even know what they're fucking. Like their situation. I guess that happens to humans too.
well, I mean,
But their situation is a little different. I'm just for sexuality
that's part of
historically.
it too, but
It seems like the lines here have been closer to what types of behavioral signifiers and appearance signifiers we're into, more so than like the biology. Like we don't fuck people for their chromosomes. We don't really know what
well, we
people's
do fuck them
chromosomes
for
are.
their titties and other elements that are based off of sex and stuff.
Sure, but well, based on sex, they can be correlated to sex, but trans women can be
Well, you're not really
XY
getting
and
them
have
unless you
tits.
have. Well, they have tits because they either have implants or they have taken hormone replacement therapy. Or
There are
they're just
cis
fat,
women
but
who have taken implants or hormone enhancers.
oh yeah, obviously, but they had them before then.
And
But
well,
I
I
guess
mean,
that is a little bit.
yeah, I mean, male and female humans are the same egg sperm being met in the womb. The base female
That's not
zygote.
exactly how biology works.
No, wait, hold on. Yeah, it is. Sperms and eggs both have all the genetic components to make a male or female child, and which it chooses sort of determines which way the biologically dimorphous components turn into.
Well, the organs that are like sexually dimorph, like for example, ovaries versus testes, those ones. Oh wait, sorry. Let me grab my balance. Actually, no, you are right.
Yeah, they're biologically
I'm
analogous.
misremembering. Yeah.
The head of your penis
The
is like the
testes fall
clitoris.
off. Not exactly, Vaush, because I looked into that because the urethral opening is different on the vagina versus the penis.
Well, yeah, I know there are differences, but these are biologically analogous. It's the same base human template, and then depending on what hormone washes we get in the womb, we can go one way or the other.
Okay.
So
what do you think
the point I'm getting then is like
the difference is between a cisgender man and a transgender woman exactly.
Well, the point
like a femboy who identifies as a male, like who's that one phase guy, versus a transgender woman who just started that. What do you think the difference is exactly?
Well, the point that I was making with regards to tits though is that there's not really any difference between like tits that trans women get from hormones and the breasts the cis women have. They're the same. I mean, trans women can lactate. It's literally just the same material. One of them just got stimulated with hormone development before the other.
Actually, there are cases of actual cisgender. There was one case, actually, I think it's fairly famous. Or not really famous. I learned about it in my anatomy physiology class, but essentially, a bunch of people were shipwrecked, and a cisgender man was able to lactate actually after having the child suck on his teat for long enough, I think.
Pretty wacky stuff.
That's not exactly not gendered. That's not exactly a biologically female exclusive thing, though.
Yeah, well, the only point I'm saying, when it comes to tits, I mean, trans tits and cis tits aren't really... I mean, if you're attracted to, like, tits on a person...
One of them's made of silicone, one of them's made of, fleshy stuff.
Well, no, if you... When you take feminizing hormones, your breasts grow. Those are literally just, like, the same as breasts on cis women. It's biologically, they're the same.
So what do you say about the skeletal differences, though?
Which skeletal differences?
Well, for example, wider hips versus narrow hips, obviously broad shoulders, all those typical stuff. Obviously, there are variations within the female population. You have some really buff looking
I've got wide hips.
Yeah.
I've got wide hips, and I have male friends whose bodies are tiny with really narrow frames,
So you think like a straight person could be attracted to someone even of the same sex?
What? I thought we were talking about skeletons.
Oh no, that too. But like, say if like a man had like say if like a man had a bunch of more quote unquote feminine-ish features, you don't really think that sorry, you don't think that the sex is the end all be all of sexuality, do you?
No, but you're the one who brought up skeletons. All I'm saying is that I know there are
Right.
males who have dainty skeletons, and I know cis women, biological females, who are tall and broad-framed. While there are on average differences between the skeletons of people born male and female, it's really along a fairly arbitrary spectrum, and there are plenty of cis guys out there with wide hips and narrow frames that get tons of pussy, and plenty of larger females with broader, frames, rugby players, I guess, who get tons of dick pussy. And so to me, it's fairly arbitrary. Like, there are cis women out there with big skeletons. So if trans women have big skeletons, to me, it's just not like I don't know. It's a woman's skeleton.
Yeah. To be fair, that is a little bit of it's kind of hard to argue against that, honestly. What were the other topics I wanted to talk about?
Oh, wait, I think we were a couple of premises deep on this. I thought we had a little bit more to talk about.
Oh yeah, let's go on. Let's go on about it.
Well, the point that I always get through on this is that it seems like all the characteristics that make cis women and trans women different, like almost all of them, just exist on a spectrum between the average biological markers of males and females, but that nothing along that marker like definitively makes a person less of a woman or less worthy of attraction. After all, it's not like straight guys don't like dick. Straight guys love dick. Have you seen all like the porn discourse and subreddits? Always looking for guys with big dicks, and like they're always looking at dicks. Straight guys to compare themselves to because they like looking at them. They love them. So you see a woman with a dick. I mean, that's not exactly a big leap for a lot of straight guys. Not all of them, but like I don't think that makes them less straight.
Oh my God. Okay. I think I've found out why you're doing this.
You mean why? Wait, you called in. What do you mean? What am I doing?
No. I mean, I think I understand your whole idea about tearing down the sexualities and stuff.
Yeah, I just don't think there's any difference. I mean, you're straight. If you're straight, then you can be attracted to cis and trans women. And if you're not attracted to a lot of trans women, I don't think that makes you like a bad person necessarily. There are trans women who have physical or physiological characteristics that some straight guys aren't going to be attracted to. I just think the whole making a sexuality. Yeah, not everyone's going to be into dicks. I think that's fine. But the whole like making a sexuality out of it, like I wouldn't fault a person if they weren't like super into like Asian women, because that's just wasn't necessary. Like they were just some. It just doesn't tend to be their aesthetic or whatever. Like I wouldn't come at them and call them a big racist or whatever. But if they made a sexuality and it's like, yeah, I'm mega straight, or I don't fuck Asian women, that'd be like kind of weird, right?
You're attracted to everyone, I guess. Like the whole idea of. Actually, I want to ask you a question.
I'm generally attracted to feminine characteristics, It's not everyone. It's just the gender doesn't bother me.
So there is a difference between like, so you feel a difference in attraction between male and female, or what you perceive to generally be male or female,
Yeah, I tend to be a lot more discerning when I'm attracted to men. I don't like many masculine signifiers. But when I see trans women, even trans women that like don't necessarily pass, I don't usually think of that as because they're masculine. I just think of that as because they're like women, but of a different kind, like they're trans women and cis women, but it's just honestly, in the woman umbrella, Okay,
listen, I'm not gonna lie. Most of the time, the voice is kind of the biggest turnoff for me if I ever see some. If you couldn't tell from the title, I am a little bit super straight. I think I might change my mind after this, but I don't think so. But who knows? But honestly, like talking to the people, like their bodies, you can tell a difference generally. Like after the HRT stands up, but the voice is generally. And for for F to M, it generally is a lot different in terms of like, you can see, so the chat's probably going to think that I am the Antichrist now, but I actually used to watch Calvin Garrett. I think people kind of know him as an infamous figure, to say the least, but there was like a lot of, I kind of went into a weird phase where I am going to concede this, okay? I think the whole idea of like genital preference, whenever you're talking about that, is kind of a little bit disingenuous.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with having genital preferences necessarily. Penises and vaginas are very different to one another. If you're attracted to one but not the other, that's totally fine. I just think that I think a lot of people are very cruel to trans women over things they wouldn't mind if they saw them in cis women. It's the transness that bothers them more so than any of the associate characteristics. Because I know cis women. I'm talking about cis women here who are tall, broad-shouldered, deep-voiced, strong-jawed. There are even cis women who have somewhat prominent Adam's apples. It's just a variable thing. And I know these
Yeah.
women haven't had trouble in their love lives because they're all cool ladies and stuff. But it seems like if you add that and then it's like, oh, it's because they're trans, then it's like, oh. And people then get weird about it in a way they wouldn't have if these were just attributes, you know?
I mean, there is. So for some guy, obviously you're going to say this is just transphobia, which I don't entirely disagree with, but if I ever look at a person or whatever that's trans, there's always going to be the nagging feeling like that used to be a dude in your mind, and which is, you know, obviously transphobic or whatever as you would say, but it's always going to be there, boss. You can't get rid of it. I'm sorry, but you can't. Okay.
I can't. I mean, you used to be like a baby, right? But like, we don't want no baby fuckers, right? So seems like time is kind of an important attribute when it comes to just discerning whether or not, you know, this is a sort of worthy partnering.
I don't know. This coming from the guy who defended pedos, you know, it's a little bit. Actually, do you want to transition to a different? I'm sorry. Okay, can we talk on that for one second? I just wanted to say, you don't have there are. You do realize that people like are willing to boycott Nike in some cases, right? Like I know the analogy, the infamous clip was about like Nike versus, you know, them using the slave labor of the CCP and whatever, and then you analogize that like using that framework, there is no like ethical argument for CP. Number one, CP produces like nothing for society. I'm just gonna say that right up front. Whereas like at the very least 10 issues like there or Nike stuff, like they at least give people like athletes jobs and stuff. Okay. But even so, slave labor is completely, absolutely, morally reprehensible, and you can boycott it just as you boycott the other stuff.
Well,
yeah,
well, hold on. I'm not talking about boycotting. I'm talking about banning it and banning all companies that participate in it and eradicating it from the face of the earth so severely that the government has the ability to track down people who illicitly buy materials from companies that use slaves and then arrest them. That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, in all honesty, like if you're using slave labor, like at the very least, the higher up should get like at least some jail time for it. Okay, because slave labor is.
Well, then you agree with my point. Wait, then you're completely affirming my point. The problem that I have is people are so blasé about the child slave labor. You know, they're like, oh, whatever, like it happens over there, whatever. And then obviously they have the correct position on the CP stuff, which is like the complete social, political, and legal denunciation. But then they get really weird about it. So what I said was essentially the devil's advocate argument, you know. So, oh, if you think this is fine, then prove that this is bad, which optically has its drawbacks.
Okay, but I should have watched the entire clip about that.
It's okay. No one posts the entire clips. But no, yeah, then you agree with me if you, yeah.
I mean, I guess sort of. It's
if you agree with me that it's all bad, then
there is still like another.
There
is still like another. I can see a little bit where they're coming from, where like there is at least a marginal amount of benefit coming out of that, but like it's just not something we should like ever. I definitely say it's definitely morally bad to support Nike, like actively support them, okay? Or the other companies that use slave labor.
We could just cut it here and you don't have to find ways to split hairs on how child slavery is like a marginally more ethical. It's okay. We can just say it's all bad. We can leave it at that if you'd like.
Oh yeah, by the way, I wanted to do one more thing before I leave. The definition of a woman. So I have a few things to say about that.
Quick meme, because I gotta finish this game tonight.
I'm sorry. Okay, so first off, you can't really divorce it exactly from. So the whole definition about circular, anyone who is a woman, you know, who is a woman, you know, if anyone says they are a woman, they are a woman. I just wanted to say that you can't really divorce it from the whole aspect of like an adult human female, because the social roles, obviously before in prehistory when there weren't exactly transgender people, these emergent behaviors of both sexes or both genders essentially, even though they're, I hate to use the word gender when talking about like prehistory and stuff because the social roles weren't exactly defined quite yet, but I'm saying that most of these times, like all these social roles, they generally, defend a dichotomy of like the females generally being weaker on average, and generally staying home on average, versus the males who go out and explore and are more aggressive on average. And you can't really divorce the idea of a woman from like the biological traits of an adult human female. Now there is a lot of sociological.
Why not?
Yeah.
What definition God is pinning the term to that idea?
Because pretty much every single idea throughout society is, based that on the behaviors of, obviously adult human females as women.
What does that have to do? For thousands of years, shaman were one of the most important people in a society, and we had tons of terms relating to their prophecy. I mean, what does that have to do with it? We choose these definitions for what brings us the most utility. So I feel like the definition that I have for it probably brings the most utility. I don't know what we necessarily lose through saying that.
Well, because I'm just saying that transgender women are not completely divorced from, obviously the roles we have defined for biological women.
Well, what does that have to do with anything?
No, I'm just saying that the whole circular idea of who is a woman is whoever defines himself as a woman. You can end that circle by linking it at least a little bit initially to adult human females. Well,
it's not necessarily circular, because the term woman has two different meanings there. You can think of woman as a label that people self-identify as. It's one that we ascribe, and it's one people can ascribe to themselves, and we do so in order to contextualize the behavior, roles, and relations that a person has relative to their environment. So if a person wants to call themselves a woman, they have the power to put that label on themselves, and it means that they're in some way trying to recontextualize their relationship to what's going on around them and to their own internal dialogue. But I don't think that definition is necessarily negated by the fact that there's an association between womanhood and, say, being able to give birth or having a womb. That can be the case for most women, but there are going to be some women who don't have that.
Well, the idea is the behavior that, obviously so the societal role of women, you can agree that the societies generally oppress anyone who wasn't, completely gender conforming to their birth sex, right?
That depends. The Indians have had the hijra, I believe, the third gender. That's been a thing for centuries and centuries. There are two-spirit Native American people, and different societies have had different ideas on this kind of thing.
I just want to say, there's the word two in two-spirit, right?
I think two-spirit for them meant they were born with one, but then there's was it like an animal spirit that they lived with in them, and it was I don't know the specifics of it. I don't think the two-spirit meant that they're half male, half female.
We got to get a scholar in something.
There are 6 genders in ancient Judaism in the Talmud. Damn, they got around.
6 genders? What the fuck? What? Ancient Judaism? What the fuck?
Maybe that's why the Nazis fear them so
much. Am I
much.
Toaster never? Oh, I mean I got to recommend everyone The True Believer by Eric Hoffner. It goes into the philosophy of the Nazis and also a bunch of other mass movements throughout history. But the whole idea of a perpetual enemy is kind of why never mind about that. I just wanted to say that all
right, I've read plenty on the Nazis.
S class is best class. All right, sorry for that. See ya.
Okay, be well. That was an odd conversation. That was incredible. You guys are too mean. That guy acted in good faith the entire time. I don't know what the S class thing is. Is that like a One Punch Man reference?